All right, so today we're going to deep dive into something I think we can all relate to. You know, it's one of those things everyone has to do, but maybe not everyone loves to do.
Yeah, for sure.
We're talking about self-introductions.
Yeah, those.
We found this really fascinating guide on how to introduce yourself in English.
Oh, cool.
And I'm excited to unpack it with you.
Me too.
Because I think it's something that, you know, we all kind of struggle with.
We kind of take it for granted.
Yeah, and it can...
Boy, how hard can it be?
Yeah, it can make or break that first impression.
Absolutely. It really sets the tone.
Definitely.
For any interaction.
Yeah. So this guide kicks off by talking about, like, nailing those core elements of a self-introduction.
Okay, the basics.
The basics, yeah, like your name, where you're from, what you do, maybe like a little hint of a hobby.
Yeah, just to pique their interest.
Yeah. But the trick is to, like, assemble all that in a way that's clear, concise, and hopefully a little captivating.
Right. It's got to be engaging.
Right. Like, I'm picturing someone saying, like,
okay,
hi, I'm Alex from Chicago. By day, I decode algorithms.
Okay.
And by night, I'm on a quest to brew the perfect IPA.
I like that.
That's good.
It's, like, informative, but there's also, like, a little bit of personality in there.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a great example of how those little details can make an introduction stand out.
Totally.
Like mentioning the craft beer.
Right, yeah.
It creates that common ground.
Yeah.
And opens up conversation.
Okay, so we've got, like, the foundation.
Yeah.
But this guide also dives into, like, the common pitfalls.
Uh-oh. What are those?
The things that will make people just instantly tune out.
Okay.
And I'm guilty of this myself.
Really?
Like, trying to sound overly formal or, like, using all this jargon that just makes my brain hurt.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to overwhelm people.
Exactly.
Especially right off the bat.
Yeah, and it's like that fine line between it's coming off as, like, credible, but also, like...
approachable.
Or approachable.
Yeah. One of the biggest traps, I think, is trying to cram too much in. Or sounding like a robotic resume recital.
Totally.
You want to project warmth and authenticity, not stiffness.
Yeah.
Like a genuine, it's great to connect with a smile.
Yeah.
Can be so much more effective than a rehearsed monologue.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it.
Oh, you've been there.
I've been there.
Okay.
Like, I was trying to impress this group of investors once. And I just, like, went on and on with this super complicated description of my startup idea. And, like, I could see their eyes glazing over.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and it was just, like, painful.
Oof. Yeah, I can relate to that.
So I learned the hard way that clarity and connection trump complexity every time.
Totally. It's a good reminder that less is more.
Yeah, less is more for sure.
And adapting to different situations is crucial. You know, think about it. You wouldn't introduce yourself the same way at a networking event as you would at a casual backyard barbecue.
Exactly.
So the guide emphasizes the importance of tailoring your approach to the context and the audience.
Yeah. You're not going to be like, hey, what's up? At, like, a professional conference.
Not unless you want some strange looks.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, at a conference, it'd probably highlight your professional achievements and, like, your expertise.
Right.
But at a social gathering, you might lead with, like, a shared interest.
Yeah, like hiking or travel or something.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the guide gets even more interesting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it brings up cultural nuances.
Ah, interesting.
Which I think is often overlooked.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because what might be considered assertive in one culture could be perceived as boastful in another. So, for instance, being direct about your accomplishment might be perfectly acceptable in some professional settings, but in others, a more modest approach might be better received.
It's a great reminder to be mindful of those subtle differences, especially in our increasingly globalized world.
For sure.
Yeah. So, okay, we've got the basics down. We're avoiding the jargon traps, and we're adapting to our audience. But how do we, like, infuse our introductions with those, like, memorable personal touches that make us stand out?
Yeah. That's the key. How do we be memorable?
Yeah, like, how do we not fade into the background of all the other introductions?
That's a good question.
Yeah. So this is where understanding your own unique story comes into play.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah. The guide suggests pinpointing keywords related to like your passions and weaving them into your introduction.
Interesting.
Yeah. So instead of just saying, I enjoy photography, you might say, I love capturing the fleeting moments of beauty in everyday life.
Ooh, that's much better.
Right. It's like you're giving people like a glimpse into your world and inviting them to connect on a deeper level. And it goes beyond hobbies, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like you could mention a recent book that like blew your mind.
Yeah.
Or a cause that you're passionate about.
Absolutely. Anything that gives a little bit more depth.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
These small details act as conversational springboards.
Yeah.
They spark curiosity and lead to like more meaningful interactions. Like think about it. If you mention a love for urban gardening, someone with a similar interest is going to be way more likely to strike up a conversation.
Connect with you.
Yeah.
On that shared interest.
Okay, so we're creating these like intriguing mini narratives.
Right.
But I know there's still those moments when the nerves kick in.
Oh, yeah.
And our brains just go blank.
Oh, yeah. Stage fright.
Yeah.
Totally.
Like, especially when we're under pressure.
Right. When stakes are high.
Totally.
Way.
How do we combat that, like, deer in the headlights feeling?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think the guide had some tips on that.
Yeah. The guide offers some practical tips.
Well, good.
And one that I find particularly helpful is the mirror technique.
The mirror technique.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might sound simple, but standing in front of a mirror and practicing your introduction out loud can work wonders.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought the mirror technique was just for, like, speeches or presentations.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's all about self-awareness and building confidence.
Okay.
Because by seeing and hearing yourself articulate your introduction, you become more attuned to your body language, your tone of voice, and like your overall presence.
Oh, I see.
You can spot those little quirks or habits that you might not even realize you're doing.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's like having an instant feedback loop?
Exactly.
Okay, I like that.
You can tweak your delivery until it feels natural and authentic.
So you're not just like stuck in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're actually like seeing how it comes across to someone else.
Okay. That's a good tip.
Yeah, I think it's a really valuable tool.
Yeah, I'm going to try that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
So it's like we're getting more comfortable with putting ourselves out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, which is what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to self-introductions.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, this has been really helpful.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling more confident.
I know, me too.
Okay.
I'm like ready to
go out there and introduce myself to the world.
Yeah, let's go practice.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah. It's about fine-tuning those subtle cues that make a first impression really strong. And speaking of feedback, the guide also suggests recording yourself.
You mean like making my own self-introduction podcast episode? Okay. I'm intrigued.
Well, not a full-blown podcast, but you get the idea. By recording and listening back, you can gain a more objective perspective on how you're coming across. You might notice that you're speaking too quickly or your tone is flatter than you intended.
That makes sense. It's like proofreading your own writing. Sometimes you need that distance to catch the little things. But what about those moments when, despite all the prep, we just blank? You know, stage fright strikes and our carefully crafted intro just flies out the window.
It happens. It's inevitable, even for the most seasoned communicators. But that's why it's so important to have a fallback framework. It's like having a mental template that you can adapt on the fly.
So instead of panicking and resorting to, hi, we have a go-to structure to rely on. I like it. Precisely. Something like, hey everyone, I'm your name, and I'm really excited to be here because mention a genuine reason or shared interest. I'm currently briefly describe your work or passion. Simple, adaptable, and it'll keep you from stumbling.
That's brilliant. It's like a self-introduction life raft when the brain fog rolls in. So we've got the prep work down, the mirror technique, the fallback framework. Are we ready to take this to the next level? The guide hints at something about storytelling, and I'm all ears.
You're catching on. This is where we transform those basic introductions into captivating narratives. It's about weaving in personal anecdotes and experiences that make you relatable and memorable. Think of it like this. You wouldn't just list the ingredients of a delicious meal. You'd describe the aroma, the flavors, the emotions it evokes.
Ah, I see what you mean. So instead of saying, I work in finance, you might say, I help people achieve their financial dreams, like buying their first home or funding their dream vacation. Suddenly, it's not just a job title. It's a story with a human connection.
You nailed it. It's about painting a vivid picture that resonates with your audience. And this is where the guide gets really interesting. It encourages us to tap into our unique origin stories.
Origin stories, like superheroes. Okay, I'm officially hooked. Tell me more.
Think about the experiences that have shaped who you are today. The moments that sparked your passions or led you down a particular path. Perhaps it was a childhood trip that ignited your love for travel, or a mentor who inspired you to pursue a certain career.
So it's not just about what we do, but how we got there, right? Those pivotal moments that give context and depth to our stories.
Exactly. Sharing these snippets not only makes you more memorable, but it also opens up opportunities for deeper connections. Others who have had similar experiences are more likely to engage and relate to you on a personal level.
I'm starting to see how this all ties together. We're not just reciting facts, we're sharing pieces of ourselves, creating these mini narratives that spark curiosity and connection. But how do we do this without sounding like we're bragging or hijacking the conversation?
That's a great question, and it's all about striking the right balance. The guide emphasizes the importance of authenticity and humility. It's not about boasting about your achievements, it's about sharing glimpses into your journey in a way that's genuine and relatable.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between being confident and being approachable. And I imagine this also ties back to adapting to different situations. You wouldn't necessarily share the same origin story at a job interview as you would at a casual dinner party with friends.
Precisely. It's all about reading the room, understanding your audience, and tailoring your approach accordingly. But the core principle remains the same: to weave your experiences and passions into your introduction, creating a narrative that's engaging, relatable, and uniquely you.
I'm loving this. It's like we're transforming self-introductions from dreaded formalities into these little opportunities for connection and storytelling.
Yeah.
And I'm already starting to think about my own origin story. It involves childhood obsession with dinosaurs and a very patient kindergarten teacher.
I can't wait to hear it. But before you launch into your dinosaur tale, there's one more element the guide touches upon that I think is crucial: overcoming those lingering nerves and building confidence. Because even with the best crafted introduction, self-doubt can creep in and sabotage our efforts.
Oh, absolutely. It's like that inner voice whispering, "Who are you kidding? No one wants to hear about your dinosaur obsession." How do we silence that inner critic and project genuine confidence?
The guide offers some practical tips, and one that resonates with me is the power of visualization. It's about imagining yourself successfully navigating those introductory moments, feeling calm, composed, and engaging.
Visualization. I've heard athletes use that technique, but I've never thought about applying it to social interactions. How does it work exactly?
It's about creating a mental movie where you see yourself confidently introducing yourself, making eye contact, smiling, and speaking with a clear, steady voice. By repeatedly visualizing this positive scenario, you're essentially training your brain to associate self-introductions with positive emotions and outcomes.
So instead of focusing on all the things that could go wrong, we're rewiring our brains to anticipate a successful and enjoyable experience. I love it. It's like giving our confidence a pre-game pep talk. It really is amazing how just shifting your mindset can make such a difference.
Yeah, it's like we're taking control of the narrative.
Yeah, instead of dreading those introductions, we can reframe them as like opportunities to connect, to share our stories, and to like spark those unexpected interactions.
Yeah, those serendipitous moments.
Exactly, that make life so interesting.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a point that the guide kind of subtly highlights throughout. It's not just about crafting the perfect intro. It's about approaching those initial interactions with genuine curiosity and a willingness to engage.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah.
It's not just about delivering our lines.
Right.
It's about truly listening, asking thoughtful questions.
Yeah.
And finding those points of connection that lead to like real conversations.
It's about building rapport.
Yeah.
Think about it. We've all encountered those people.
Oh, yeah.
Who are so focused on broadcasting their own accomplishments that they completely miss the opportunity to actually connect with the person they're talking to.
Oh my gosh, yes. It's like they're so busy thinking about what they're going to say next that they're not actually listening to anything.
Exactly. And it can be such a turnoff.
Totally.
You know, you just feel like you're being talked at rather than talked with.
Yeah.
So the guide really emphasizes that a compelling self-introduction is just the starting point.
Okay.
It's about creating a space for dialogue, for those back and forth exchanges that can lead to new insights.
Yeah. So it's not just about talking about ourselves. It's about inviting others into the conversation.
Absolutely.
Creating a sense of mutual interest and respect.
I like that. And that ties back to what we were talking about earlier with storytelling. You know, the most captivating stories are often those that invite the listener to participate.
Totally.
To connect with the narrative on a personal level.
Yeah, it's like we're not just sharing our stories.
Right.
We're creating a space for other people to share theirs too.
Exactly. It's a beautiful exchange.
It is.
Of experiences and perspectives.
Yeah.
And that's where the real magic happens.
Yeah.
When we move beyond those superficial first impressions and tap into that shared humanity, recognizing that we're all on this journey together.
This has been such an eye-opening deep dive.
It really has.
It's totally changed the way I think about self-introductions.
Me too.
Like from something to be dreaded to something to like look forward to.
Exactly. Like an opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this final thought from the guide. The most important element of any self-introduction is the genuine desire to connect.
Okay.
If you approach those initial interactions with warmth, curiosity, and a willingness to engage, you'll find that the words will flow naturally and the connections will follow.
That's a great takeaway. So to our listeners, I hope you'll walk away from this deep dive feeling empowered, knowing that you have the tools to craft compelling self-introductions that spark genuine connections.
Absolutely.
Remember, you have a unique story to tell.
Yes, you do.
And the world is waiting to hear it.
Go out there and share it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into self-introductions.
It's been a pleasure.
See you next time.
Bye.